God spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, saying, "Take a census of the whole Israelite community, listing the names head by head." This verse, my selective translation, opens the fourth book of the Torah, Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. And this week's parasha, its themes of wilderness and names, set the frame for this reflection. We'll start with the names. This is one of the first recorded memories of a census taken in antiquity. Not only a census of numbers, but a census of names. Moses is translating God's call to a group of formerly enslaved people. You need to be known. Your name counts. You count. Your life has worth, and your name needs to be known. We need only think of our own day and the extraordinary memorial in Montgomery, Alabama, created by the Equal Justice Initiative, led and created by Brian Stevenson. It is the resurrection of names and stories. It is the first memorial ever to the victims of racial terror by lynching in this country. More than 4,400 names on 800 slabs of steel, one for each county in which racial lynchings were carried out to terrorize and intimidate people of color. Or think of the Vietnam War Memorial, name by name, or the 9/11 Memorial, how we run our fingers over the names of those we remember. Enslaved people are reduced to numbers. How many? For how much money? Numbers tattooed. The numbers of people exterminated. Numbers. No, this census was name by name, listing the names head by head. And the wilderness? We too are in a wilderness defined by COVID-19, isolation, loneliness, fear, anxiety. This is the Shabbat before the holiday of Shavuot, the holiday in which we celebrate the revelation on Mount Sinai. We remember a direct encounter with God's presence, a glimpse into the divine heart of the world. Our sages have remarked that on the Shabbat before this revelation, we always read the portion of Bamidbar. We also place ourselves in the Midbar, in the wilderness. Something about being in the wilderness helps us to prepare for, or even see, a glimpse of the divine. Now, please shift your gaze toward Jerusalem. Daniel Estrin is a close family friend who lives in Jerusalem with his partner. He is the NPR Jerusalem correspondent and also a cellist. Early on in this pandemic, he went over to my mother's front porch. Many of you have been on this beautiful, circular, columned Jerusalem porch. My mother sat in the doorway, and Daniel, who had brought his cello, sat on the porch and played a Bach concert for her. I suppose that it's because of my mother's relationship with Daniel that she found out about this beautiful episode he just produced for NPR. It is called Hotel Corona and appears as a podcast on NPR's Rough Translation. It's 34 minutes and worth every minute. This is NPR's introduction to the podcast. When the Dan Hotel in Jerusalem was leased by the government to house recovering COVID-19 patients, the new guests gave it the nickname Hotel Corona. The nearly 200 patients inside already had the coronavirus, and so unlike the outside world on strict lockdown, they could give each other high fives and hugs and hang out together. What was even more surprising than what they could do was what they were doing. Patients from all walks of life, Israelis, Palestinians, religious, secular, groups that don't normally mix, were getting along and having fun. They were eating together, sharing jokes, even doing Zumba. And because they were documenting themselves on social media, the whole country was tuning in to watch, like a real-life reality TV show. This is Rough Translation from NPR. I'm Gregory Warner. It really is the perfect reality TV show setup. 200 people from all walks of life, Israelis, Palestinians, religious, secular, all recovering from COVID-19, some of them fresh from the hospital, now forced to live together in a hotel until they're no longer contagious. And they call this place Hotel Corona. It's not just Daniel watching this. Lots of Israelis are tuning in, except they're not trying to watch the dramas. The odd thing here is the lack of drama. And people are wondering, is this for real? Are they getting along as well as they seem? Today, the story inside Hotel Corona and why this show won't get a second season when Rough Translation returns. I want to tell you everything about Aisha, the Bedouin Muslim woman from the Negev, Israel South, about how she decided not to go back to her job as a janitor in a hospital, and who taught her that she was smart and capable, about the Passover Seder with ultra-Orthodox Jews and Muslims and secular Jews, about barriers and crossing barriers and removing barriers. Featured in this podcast is Noam Schuster, an Israeli woman comedian who grew up in Neve Shalom, Wahat al-Salam, the Israeli-Palestinian village in Israel proper. NPR. All her life she'd been told that it was her job to bring people together, a job she felt she'd failed at. Noam, you know how amazing it is? I wasn't the one to remove the barriers. Oh my God, I wish things outside could be like this. NPR. And she wondered what it was in this hotel that allowed people to find such common ground without slogans, without the UN, without any pancakes for peace. Noam, is it the fact that Jews and Arabs get the same in the hotel, same food, same terms? Was it that people were being treated equally, or that they'd all face down the same disease? Noam, that we are realizing how much the well-being of one is the well-being of the other. And how will I think about this experience when I go back to the real world? In the wilderness, in the Corona wilderness, and they have found a way to name each other, to know each other. This wilderness can be a place where we glimpse the divine, where we can glimpse the world as it might be. It is so close. It is so tantalizingly close, so close that we can see it. We can see the outline of Mount Sinai.